While you're dodging secondhand fentanyl on Toronto's public transit, stepping over needles on sidewalks, avoiding public parks and bathrooms due to unsanitary, chaotic, and disorderly happenings, and then wondering why repeatedly it seems like your tax dollars are vanishing into thin air while services deteriorate instead of getting better, well, buckle up, because while Toronto's streets are increasingly unsafe, the TTC has become a de facto drug hub and overnight shelter. City Hall bureaucrats are spending your money on tree equity. Yes, really, it's anti-racism, decolonizing, tree equity. If you think I'm kidding, let's dig in. A few months ago, when Toronto's Tree Equity Score Analyzer app launched, I filed a Freedom of Information request in an attempt to find out exactly how much this free app actually costs the City of Toronto, otherwise known as the taxpayers. That work is only made possible through your generosity and support at rebelinvestigates.com. So make sure that you check out our other work there and chip in a few bucks if you're able to make investigations like this one possible. Now, it seemed like a pretty straightforward, simple question, right? How much did the software, the data work, the marketing, the whole coordinated rollout cost tax-paying Torontonians for an app that basically just tracks who gets more trees and somehow turns shade into a social justice debate? Depending on how much shade your street has, you may live in prime racist colonizing territory. So here's the city's official response word for word. Staff of the above division has advised that despite a thorough search, they were unable to locate any records related to your request. Therefore, access cannot be granted as the records do not exist. Please note, staff of Environment, Climate, and Forestry have advised that American Forests funds the Tree Equity Score Analyzer with no direct cost to the city. That's it. They claim that there are no records about their own plan. None, except there's an entire glowing press release from American Forests dating back to July of 2024 announcing that Toronto is the first city outside of the United States to roll out this tool. It's a full-on partnership between the City of Toronto's Parks, Forestry, and Recreation Division, LEAF, which is a nonprofit organization called Local Enhancement and Appreciation of Forests, and a nonprofit conservation organization based out of the United States called, as mentioned, American Forests. They created a stakeholder group. They adapted the entire American model to Canadian census data. Yes, they literally built in visible minority and Indigenous identity metrics so the app could spit out racial equity scores. They tailored outreach, ran community engagement, prepped data, and now they're using it to decide where to plant trees in so-called equity-deserving neighborhoods. Kim Statham, Director of Urban Forestry at the City of Toronto, whose salary, by the way, sits at almost $200,000 per year plus benefits on the latest Sunshine list, is quoted right in the announcement. LEAF's executive director is quoted as well. They've got public tours, shrub giveaways, grant programs, and impact reports all tied to this thing. So let me ask the obvious question the bureaucrats don't want to answer. If there are no records, how exactly was this partnership formalized, managed, and paid for with staff time, meetings, data analysis, and marketing? Because last I checked, city employees don't work for free, and coordination doesn't just happen by magic. This isn't some free app that magically appeared. This is Toronto's Urban Forest Grants and Incentives Program. Over $22 million poured into it since 2017. It's now steered by this tree equity score that literally factors in race, income, and health equity. LEAF's own 2024 annual report brags about giving their staff tree equity training with anti-racism experts and running decolonizing urban forestry workshops. They hosted public tree tours in low canopy equity-focused neighborhoods and pushed native shrub giveaways. All of it proudly framed as reconciliation and anti-racism work. Meanwhile, Premier Doug Ford is out here this week announcing new rules because drug use in the TTC has gotten so bad, riders have had enough. Overdoses are up, people are using subways and streetcars as shelters while the city claims encampments are down, while violent crime and random chaos make daily life feel and seem more and more unsafe. But sure, the real emergency is that some neighborhoods have fewer trees than others according to a race-based algorithm. I reached out to Kim Statham directly since taxpayers fund her handsome salary. She should be able to answer for this program that she oversees. But naturally, she redirected me to Toronto Media Relations, who apparently don't relate to the media in any meaningful way. After some back and forth, the city's response avoids the substance of the questions that I asked by shifting to high-level policy context rather than addressing how the initiative actually functions in practice. They assert that the Tree Equity Score Analyzer was developed and maintained solely by American Forests, and that the city has no staff or resource involvement. On that basis, they effectively sidestep questions about staffing, internal coordination, costs, and implementation. Instead of providing operational details such as who within the city supported data preparation, communications, or partnership coordination, they redirect to general statements about Toronto's 2021 adoption of a tree equity approach and its long-term canopy targets. The council reports they cite are used only to restate policy intent, not to document the actual development, launch, or governance of this free app. I also reached out to American Forests, who, based on their 2024 annual report, saw more than a doubling of U.S. government funding from roughly $5.3 million to just over $13 million, with Tree Equity taking up roughly $7 million of their annual operating budget. Now, how much of that went to this app, we can't really be sure, since apparently no records exist. And Leaf, whose values include things like accountability and communication, well, they don't actually publish any financial statements at all. And the response from them, well, it leaves much to be desired. Janet McKay wrote, "Leaf did not receive any funding or in-kind contributions from the City of Toronto for this project, but that's not what I asked. The questions were about Leaf's own role and financial position in relation to the Tree Equity Score Analyzer, specifically if Leaf itself provided, not received, financial or in-kind contributions, where its financial statements or operating budgets can be found, and whether any formal agreements exist with the City of Toronto outlining its responsibilities or partnership structure. None of that was addressed in this vague response, and each point was effectively sidestepped. This is exactly what happens when ideology replaces common sense. Bureaucrats and their NGO partners get to virtue signal with your money, while the basics, safe streets, reliable transit, actual public safety, fall apart. Sure, everyone deserves trees, and green spaces are needed to break up the mundane hellscape of the concrete jungle, but not at the expense of ignoring the real crisis right in front of us, with taxpayers paying for this nonsense to the tune of, well, who even knows how much? In the meantime, I'm appealing this decision and will keep digging. And if you want to see more on this file, please support our work at rebelinvestigates.com. Keep watching, subscribe, and share this, because together we can try to get some actual accountability so these anti-racist decolonizers stop throwing shade at the taxpayers, footing the bill for all of it. For Rebel News, I'm Tamara Ugolini. Rebelinvestigates.com is our hub for exclusive government accountability journalism. If you appreciate this work, if you'd like to see more of it, and you'd like to support it, please do so at rebelinvestigates.com.